Let me set this up.
All right. What's up, everybody? This is episode 85 of Hoops Talk with Dave's Joint. Shout outs to everybody that's been showing us love thus far. For those who haven't seen any of our episodes, go check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV. And also, before we start, shout outs to our sponsors, the Player's Choice. It's the new app for basketball players. Go check it out on the App Store. Go support. But without further ado, we have a very special guest tonight. He is from Paterson, New Jersey. Went to Paterson Catholic High School. Was a part of the 1996 McDonald's All-American class. Played at Villanova University. Was a part of the 1997 NBA draft as the number 7 pick. Played for various NBA teams and is now a businessman and successful family man. I give you today Mr. Tim Thomas. Tim, thank you for coming on to share your story.
Yes, sir. What's going on, brother?
Indeed, man. Thanks for coming on again, man. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, young fella.
This means a lot to me because I was never a Knicks fan, but when I was younger, I used to watch some of your games when you were with the Knicks.
Oh, that's big time. That's big time. Yeah, appreciate that.
Indeed. So let's get started. So when did basketball first begin for you?
I probably say I started playing basketball around 9-10 years old. It was just one of those things where, you start off, in the backyard and then, all your buddies on the block and, you eventually you get a little older and you start making your way to the park and then you really fall in love with it, right? So, that was my thing. I always stayed somewhere close to a park, in my stay inside of Paterson, living inside of Paterson. So, it was convenient for me. So that was the thing to do, for me.
Indeed. So let's talk about growing up in Paterson, New Jersey. It's a rough city, but it also has its good parts. Like, talk about growing up in that environment.
I mean, it's definitely a tough city. It's a small city, small community. Everyone knows each other. But again, it's a tough neighborhood. I grew up in that crack era. I grew up right behind Eastside High School. So I was, a young, boy trying to find his way and, just seeing everything that came along with, that drug epidemic that, came through. Yeah, man, it was great. I mean, I had a lot of guys who actually played the sport, look after me once they realized I had some talent. So for me, basketball was always my thing. Sports was always my thing. So I never really had a chance to really experience the inner city life, so to say. I was the best 6th grader in the country, going to 5-star basketball camp, stuff like that. So, at that point, the sport was everything for me. And that's where I spent most of my time. It was either, in the YMCA or the boys club or, somewhere where the older cats was playing either in the high schools or the colleges. And I was just trying to get better.
Now, talk about what the basketball culture like is in Paterson.
What's that? Excuse me?
The basketball culture in the city.
The culture in my city right now, honestly, what was that?
I said, or before or during today.
Well, before me, we had a lot of greats that came through. Guys like James Hargrove, James Scott, Kawan Johnson, just to name a few. We had some talented and very father figure-like coaches with Mr. Baker, God rest his soul, and Mr. Collins, God rest his soul. So that was really our foundation to a lot of the guys before me. And then, once I came aboard, I mean, it was just, a no-brainer. It's like playing with the trump card, so anybody could have coached me. But the thing that helped me was being able to go to 5-star and, being able to be on that AAU circuit when it was really, really the wild, wild west. And playing against some of the elite that helped me, with my game. So, but the coaching scene right now, honestly, I would say Eastside High School has the most experience as far as on their coaching staff. Kennedy of late has been having the most talent. And if I was a parent inside of Paterson and my kid had to choose which one of the schools, I would probably send my kid, to Eastside, because the coach there did actually play the game at a high level, and understands, the ins and outs of the game. It's not just like AAU ball. You just, roll the ball out there and let them go. So, to prepare a kid to get them ready for college, I would say, probably Eastside High right now.
Shout outs to the Ghost, which was, and also Eastside High, for everybody that may or may not know, was the site of the 1989 movie Lean on Me. Joe Clark, baseball bat.
Yeah. So when you see all the negativity going on with the one scene, I think it was a drug dealer in the scene that was fighting Mr. Clark. But I was, my brother was involved in all that kind of stuff as well. So I seen it all with that.
Now, as far as tournaments, when you were younger, what were some of the events that you loved playing in?
Oh man, we was just chasing a competition. Honestly, if you had a name, we was coming after you. That was just the way it was, back then. So it didn't matter, man. I mean, coming up for me, I played anywhere at any time. I played. I was telling the guys in New York a couple weeks ago that I played with the Gauchos and almost played with Riverside, and we just wanted to find a competition. So for me, I would say the camp spot, going to 5-star, was different. It really helped me. I loved everything about 5-star basketball camp, and then just the tournaments, high school wise, being able to, be the first team to travel out of state, things of that nature. That was really big, going to Florida for the first time and things of that nature. So that whole process was beautiful, early on. But a little later on in my high school career, it became a little bit more stressful due to the fact that I was a pro, already. So it was more demand on us. Everybody wanted us, in their tournaments and, a lot of interviews and things of that nature. So, but the whole ride was beautiful.
Now, what made you decide to go to Paterson Catholic? Like you said, Eastside and Kennedy, they were the two popular schools in the city. What made you choose the Catholic school route?
Basically, my mom's with my brothers and sisters going to Eastside High, and just seeing how, the outcome was with them. She wanted something different from me. And then again, you got to realize I was the best sixth grader in the country. So, going into high school, I was the best freshman, in the country. So, she had her mindset on sending me somewhere south, and I didn't know what school, but, she just thought me going south would be, a better situation than staying in the city. But what eventually happened was one of the big time football coaches, Coach Lou Mathis, had the football job at Paterson Catholic, and he had some talented players. He had a guy named Jason Perry that played in the NFL a few years with the Chargers. He had Stanley Jackson, was a quarterback, went to Ohio State. He had a few talented guys, and he actually was the guy who brung in the guy who ended up coaching me. So that's how that happened.
So fast forward to your sophomore year, 1994. You guys had an incredible run, and you guys made it to the TOC. Talk about, your sophomore year.
Oh, I was tearing shit up. I was on the best AAU team ever. We was just running through people. God rest his soul, with Kobe Bryant, Vince Carter, Kevin Freeman, Donald Hand, Anthony Perry. Who am I forgetting? I know I'm forgetting some guys. Kevin Freeman, can't forget Kev. But I'm forgetting some guys. But that year we just ran through the AAU circuit, and then to come back and go through that whole state championship run and all of that. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Just tearing shit up in '94.
Now, talk about the memories of that squad.
It was a great squad. My freshman year was really I was coming into age, so to say. I was, young, skinny, 200, maybe 15 pounds or whatever the case may be. Getting pushed around a little bit, getting bullied a little bit with, some of the seniors that had, weight and, an understanding of the game at that level, But my sophomore year was really the get back. Right after my freshman year, I just got right in the gym. Not working on my game because I was already there, working on my body.
Right.
So I put on about another, 10 pounds. And like I said, I was just ready for war at that point. And that was the year to, kind of, make my mark, so to say, in the state. Because we had so many different people and coaches and high school programs that, has been successful. And me going into a new situation with Paterson Catholic, we was known as Punk City. Outside of the football guys, we was known as, Punk City. So to change that whole culture was everything, So now people say Paterson Catholic, like they say Paterson East Side or Paterson Kennedy, Before that, it was those dudes over at Punk City.
No, but yeah, what I was referring to before was that AAU squad for '94. Like, talk about your memories from that squad.
Well, I mean, that was pretty much like a rock star team. I mean, we was, like Kobe said, God rest his soul, we was going everywhere, beating people by 50, 60 points. We were selling out college arenas and, things of that nature before they even started having games, at college arenas and things of that nature. So, I mean, to just imagine, and if someone sees this, I hope you guys can send some footage over, but just imagine, Kobe, Rip Hamilton, Kevin Freeman, Vince, and myself. Like, that's just rare. It's very rare to see. And we was just tearing shit up, man. Just tearing shit up. It was, by far probably the best AAU team ever assembled.
Absolutely. So, going into your junior year, how's your recruitment going?
I mean, recruitment was crazy from the beginning, from the 8th grade. I mean, it just got worse at that point. That's pretty much was around the time where we started allowing coaches to come visit, either me at the school or at home. And, we seen the likes of everyone, so it was strange because, as a player, sometimes like even now, like these young kids, like you can look on Instagram and different outlets and, see that you're ranked, top 30 or whatever. But it's different when you start getting letters, right? So every kid can imagine like your first letter, you're like, oh, wow, I got a letter from Coach K or whatever. So it's different. So for me, the letters was coming in the 8th grade. But to actually have the one-on-one conversations was really, really different. So I enjoyed the process of it all.
So when you were in high school, you also got the pleasure of meeting the great Denzel Washington, who was shooting a movie in Paterson. Talk about that experience.
That was weird because when you're living in the inner city, you could get framed for almost anything, right? So, all they had to say is a tall black guy if it was a crime, committed somewhere. But we was actually in the middle of practice, and the police officers came in, and they came over to the coach and was like, "Hey, we need to take Tim downtown." They didn't say, Denzel is waiting for you or want to meet you or whatever. We need to take Tim downtown. So, at this point, I'm, one of the best basketball players in the country, so everybody's looking like, or he got in trouble, like one of those kind of, moments. But, I get in the car and the officer was like, you want to go home first and inform your parents, you're going to meet Denzel. I had no clue he was shooting a movie, downtown. And, the officer allowed me to change clothes, get out of my practice gear and all that stuff. So I changed clothes and went down, and, he was just giving me a lot of insight on what I was about to get into with my life in the future. So, that was very, very helpful. And then he gave me some insight on my city that I knew nothing about, so he, gave me that information. Then he told me about a guy that I had no clue about, Hurricane Carter. And eventually my rookie year in Vancouver, he set up a meeting for me to meet the champ. And that was amazing to me because he was a guy who went through so much, coming, from my city. And I had no clue about that, whatsoever. And then the movie comes out a little later, and then, I have a full understanding of it. And, God rest his soul, Hurricane Carter. But that right there was amazing. It was really, really amazing. So, he came in, introduced himself to me, and, dropped a lot of jewels on me and connected me with some really good people. Even, still to this day out in LA. So he's a great man.
Now, your senior year comes, you guys, you ranked, top 5 in the country. What was that senior year like, and how was that pressure as far as the schools were concerned?
Senior year was amazing because I was actually sitting in class, and Sports Illustrated was writing stories on how much money I'm going to make in a sneaker deal and things of that nature. And I'm looking at my teachers, and I know they have the article as well, and it's just like an awkward feeling, right? But it was great, man. It was great. I didn't get a chance to really soak it in because I wanted to try to do so much. My senior year. And one of my main goals was to, finally have a chance to beat St. Anthony's, on my way out, which didn't happen, by the way. I talked to Coach Hurley about that. He had an amazing game plan. And it's the reason why he's a Hall of Famer, against me. He put a small guy on me, put Anthony Perry on me, because, I can handle the ball and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went to attack Anthony, he threw it big at me. So that was the first time I ever seen anything like that. And the guy who was coaching me, he had no answers, no answers for that, defense whatsoever. So, we end up losing that game. But, overall, man, just going to the McDonald's All-American game with the guys, the Magic Roundball game with the guys, and, myself, Kobe, and Jermaine O'Neal, trying to figure out if we all want to go pro and, or, what's the best colleges for us, things of that nature. And just having that conversation was everything. And then the Magic Roundball game, that's when Kobe and Jermaine both announced that they would, go pro. And then, I went back and sat on it and just started thinking about, my whole situation. And I always said that if I went pro, I wanted to be top 10 in the draft. And the rest of that summer, I just kept looking at the board. And they actually had me to be drafted by Charlotte. I think it was 17th or 15th, something of that nature.
Wow.
And then that right there, what drove me to go to college for a year. And then at that point, it was like, okay, figure out which school makes the most sense for you right now. And it came down to the position I wanted to play. Because in the league, I wanted to come in as a 3. Because I was 6'10", normally you come in as a 4, right? So I wanted to come in as a 3. Later on in my career, eventually I'll, become a 4 or 5 or whatever. But I wanted to come in as a 3. So Coach Lapis, allowed me to come in and play the 3. So we had a great group of guys that was considered to be pros, with Alvin Williams and Jason Lawson. So I knew that they would, help me in my freshman year as far as with everything I needed basketball-wise, in the weight room, the understanding of the game, just across the board. So that's why I chose Nova over Rutgers and not going to Seton Hall with Sha.
Yeah, I know that you guys were supposed to be a package deal, but it didn't work out. But both of you guys had good careers. You for the 1 year and him for 4. But I mean, I remember this old interview from 2005 in high school before we get to Nova. So there was the old interview that you did for MSG. Actually, you took the MSG cameras around the way. And I think you stopped by Eastside and you said that they were the only school in Paterson that beat you in your 4 years?
Yeah, my freshman year. Yep. I'm actually, if you guys go on my my documentary page, I'm putting a documentary together. I Am Tim Thomas, the documentary. I'm gonna release that game. I'll probably release it next week so you guys can check it out. But yeah, they got us that my freshman year. So my best friend was a senior at Eastside. Shout out to Tom. And he was just like, look, I know I ain't gonna be able to stop you, but I'm gonna bully you the night before. He said, I'm gonna try to bully you. I'm gonna foul you out of ya. But it came down to guard play at the end of the day. I was 6'9", 6'10", the biggest thing on the court. But it came down to guard play in that game. And when you guys see the game, you'll understand. We, I don't know how many turnovers we had, but we had a lot of turnovers. And they guards was, again, tough guards. And, this was my freshman year was the last batch of guys leaving the school that was still under Punk City. So the new regime was coming in, with me and, some of the other guys. So within the city, it was a big thing. So, Eastside came and they showed out. They got it done.
So, yep. 2010, 10 years ago, I was a high school senior. So around that time, PC closed. Like, how heartbreaking was that?
It was tough. I kept the school open personally the last 12 years. Anybody that came from the school after me, I pretty much took care of their tuition and all of that kind of stuff. Shout out to all of them, Victor Cruz, I'm trying to think, Miles Mack and that whole crew, all of those guys. I pretty much kept the school, open for the last 12 years. It was tough, but again, I'm only one individual. I can't do it, by myself, and no support from the city. But it's still a landmark. People ride past it all the time, and I have my street signing right in front of it. So
that's right. You got Tim Thomas Way right there.
right. Tim Thomas Way is right there. So the guy who was actually coaching me brung in his guy, and they had a nice run with football with Victor Cruz and all those guys. So it's some history there. It's definitely some history there. So I'm proud to be the guy who started it all. Well, after Jason Perry and Stanley Jackson, got to get him some love.
Shout out to the Paterson Catholic graduating class of 1996. So Villanova, and it's funny because you signed late, and you did the commitment ceremony in your living room in your house.
Right.
Like how was it like committing to Nova? Like a lot of these kids are doing videos and all that. You did it way different. Like talk about that moment.
Yeah, because I was trying to get away from the media. These kids nowadays, they want the media, right? They're doing anything to get some media love. But I was trying to get away from the media, honestly. I wanted everybody to know, and I wanted it to come from within my circle, so to say, our neighborhood, our local newspaper, stuff like that. So that's pretty much who was in the building. It was just the local guys, the local newspaper guys, and I just let everyone know that I was actually, going to attend Villanova. Yeah. Yeah.
So speaking of Nova, talk about that freshman season.
Mm-hmm. It was great. It was great. I just remember how out of shape I was going into school because I never really had structure like that in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more or less just play, you know what I mean? So we didn't know anything about being in shape or, stretching and, weight training. We didn't know anything about that. So I was doing all that stuff, some of that stuff on my own. But when we first started, I remember Lapis just killing me for like the first 2 weeks. After that, once I got in shape, everything else was just basically getting an understanding of the offense and where I can, pick and choose when to attack and when to, get off and things of that nature. And once I got an understanding of that, because again, I didn't have a coach that, had that kind of structure, so once I got, adjusted with understanding, the system and things of that nature, it was off to the races. And that was all within a 4-week, close to a month span of training camp.
Mm-hmm.
And, we went to Puerto Rico. We had some games out there. And, I did very well. And then out the gate, at home against Providence, against a guy, Austin Crozier, who was, top 10 on that board.
Yeah.
The dog had to come out. So I had 29, 8, and 5, I believe, something like that.
Yeah, I'm about to look up that article right now later on. But go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think it's on the documentary page as well. But yeah, just out the gate, with those numbers, and then the rest of the time was just trying to, get adjusted to other teams' game plans against me. Because once I got rolling, everything else was, we slowed Tim down, we could, stay in the game, across the board. So it was just trying to figure out that aspect of it. But then, it was a great run, man. We started off number 4 in the country. I lost to Duke. I lost bad to Kentucky, really bad to Kentucky. We beat up on Felipe and all those guys in the Big East throughout the year. And we should have won the Big East championship because we lost to Boston College. Shout out to Scooney Penn.
Oh,
but
yeah, y'all did play them in the championship game, right?
We played them in the championship game, and the week before that, we went to Boston College and beat them by like 25. Wow. So we should have, won the Big East title, and then we played LIU in the first round.
That was a good game.
Yeah, Richie, shout out to Richie Parker and
Charles Jones
and my boy Charles Jones, the scorer. So we played them in the first round, and then we lost in the second round to that very talented California team with Tony
Gonzalez.
Yes. So they threw a boxing one on me with him. Then they had a bunch of 7-footers. I want to say Sean, is it Hicks or Ricks? One of them, yeah. He was on that team as well. So, but it was a great run. It was a great run. And, when the season, I'm going to tell you a quick funny story. When the season was over, I mean, like literally, as soon as the season was over, I stopped going to class, right? Mm-hmm. And at that time, my wife was pregnant. Well, my girlfriend, she was my girlfriend at the time, but she was pregnant with our first child. And she went to Georgetown. So
yeah, I remember that story.
I was down at Georgetown, and everybody was like, "Yo, is you transferring? Like, what's going on?" And I was like, "No, I'm actually gonna go to the league. My lady's pregnant, whatever." And that's when we set up, the agent meetings and all of that kind of stuff, and started the process for going to the league.
Mm. So you were working out down there in DC?
No, I was just hanging out. After our season was over, I was just hanging out.
Mm. So
the funny thing is, my freshman year, we actually almost got into a fight with Georgetown, right? So when I'm down there, these guys, they see me on their campus and in the neighborhood. Everything was strange, it was a little weird, but nothing eventually happened. But it was very, very weird, But I love Georgetown, that area down there. It's beautiful.
Mm. So June 25th, 1997, Charlotte Coliseum.
Mm-hmm.
The NBA draft goes down. So in that draft, you have Tim Duncan, Keith Van Horn, Chauncey Billups, Antonio Daniels, Tony Battie, and Ron Mercer.
Right.
You get drafted as the number 7 pick by the Nets. Talk about, that feeling of being selected, like having David Stern say your name on national television.
Look, I already knew at some point throughout that night I was going to get called, right? It was just a matter of like which team and where you're going to fall, right? So it's like, all right, where I'm going. One team I knew I wasn't going to Boston. I knew I wasn't going to Boston, right? So the rest of the teams is like it's in limbo. So, all right, everybody's perceiving Tim Duncan to be number 1. All right, granted, boom. So I felt like, me and Keith Van Horn could have went, either way or whatever, right? Because same position, whatever the case may be, right? So, when it got to New Jersey, when it got to the point where Jersey was still on the board, and I'm like, wait, this could be me right here.
Mm-hmm.
It was everything for me. Like I knew I was going to get drafted, but to get drafted by the home team, it was like, you did all of that, and now you back full circle, and you coming back home. It was everything, right? And then 20 minutes later, they're like, yo, you got traded. I'm like,
wow.
How you get traded right now?
Wow.
But what happened was Keith Van Horn at that time, he knew if he would have went to Philly, it was no way possible he'll be able to run the floor with Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
Right. So he was like, and he had the power agent. He had David Falk, right? Michael Jordan's agent at that time. So
Falk was a big Falk.
He make a move instantly, right? So Falk actually traded me twice. So he did, he really did. He sent me to Milwaukee because I didn't sign with him. I signed with Arn Tellem. So
that's crazy.
But, yeah, he did. He really did. Sent me to Milwaukee. But anyway, when they said we had the flop, I'm like, all right, cool. Chuck down there. I know I could run the floor and, do what I need to do down there with him because his style of play. That's wide open, right? You got, a vet and Derek Coleman down there that I knew, pretty well as well. I'm like, all right. And I went to school at Villanova. I'm like, this is fine. This is cool.
And you played in the same arena too.
Yeah, in the same arena, right. So it was almost like, being home, you know what I mean? Hour and a half away from Jersey. So, I mean, it was beautiful. My rookie year, I start off just trying to figure it out again. I got a super veteran coach in Larry Brown, right? And his whole thing with youngsters is he's going to try to run you in the ground early so you don't even look to play later on. But I'm a different animal. You know what I mean? So I never forget our training camp. My first 3 games preseason was we had training camp at North Carolina, University of North Carolina. My first game was against the Bulls at Carolina. I think it was the first time MJ came back to Carolina. That was my first preseason game. My second preseason game was against the New York Knicks in Long Island. And then my third preseason game was at home against the Atlanta Hawks, right? So during training camp, I'm getting up early doing individual workouts, right? I'm training with the team or practicing with the team for 2.5 hours. So the very first week of practice, I had blisters on the bottom of my feet because I was just doing so much. Like, he didn't give me no leeway. And here it is, I'm a young kid, and I grew up, when I was in high school, every time the Bulls came to New York, New Jersey, or DC or Philly, I was at the games because Scottie Pippen was my guy and his agent was trying to sign me and all of that. So I was at the games, so I was around the Bulls. So, seeing the legacy and everything that's going on with them, and, first time getting to play against MJ, I'm not going to miss that. I don't care how bad my feet hurt. Like, I'm never going to miss that. So, but, I end up, doing what I had to do to play that game, whatever. But, I had a great rookie year. And then my second year,
the lockout season.
Right. Half of that. Falk started putting his pieces to the puzzle together because he's seen the potential, and he didn't like that because he wanted another superstar in AI. And no knock against Chuck. I could have played alongside Chuck. I could have been Chuck Scotty. You know what I mean? Easily. But, that's not how the business of the league goes, and especially when you're in power. And he sent me off to Milwaukee, so I was behind 3 other scorers. You know what I mean? And I'm still in my rookie deal.
Damn.
You know what I mean? So eventually, I just kept working, and I was one of those guys who, was on that team to help. I was the first sub. George Carl allowed me to play 1 through 5. I ended up getting paid max money, all-star type money. So, I can't complain with that. But I would have rather been in a situation where I could have been 1, 2, or 3, for a few years, in my prime.
Yeah. You had some good years with the Bucks, man.
Yeah.
Some really good years.
Yeah.
So in the 90s, you were part of that first group of you were part of the young crew of players that helped build Adidas, in the 90s. You had yourself, you had Jermaine O'Neal, you had Kobe Bryant and Tracy McGrady. Talk about what it was like, being with Adidas in the 90s.
Oh, it was beautiful. I mean, we was the guys who had the golden ticket, so we was everywhere. They were sending us, China and different places. So, based off of Adidas, I done basically traveled halfway around the world, because of that. And I'm thankful, for that, to be able to see so many different places. But it was beautiful. I mean, for me, things got cut short because of the trade. Like, I had my own shoe. The very first shoe was the color wave to the players, and then starting that in 97, so I had, a few commercials, I had, things going on. And then once I got traded, all of that got shut down because, you can't put that out. So, I still had the contract, but I was in a small market. And I was in a market that was behind Jordan. Ray Allen was a Jordan brand guy. I think Big Dog was a Nike guy. And, Sam had his success, early on in, his first 2 years with the Rockets. So, that was tough for me marketing-wise, being in Milwaukee, because it was, a small market as well. But, overall, I mean, that was a great, great experience with us. Just being able to be on the road with the guys, going different places that we never been in our lives. And, just seeing the reaction from the fan base in different parts of the world. It was just everything for us,
And then also, during your first couple years in the NBA, you also did a lot of community stuff in Paterson. Like, you had your own weekend at Montgomery Park. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, man, I'm one of those individuals that did almost everything for the city of Paterson. I've touched every angle of it all, from the churches to the schools to different businesses, boys club, YMCA. I mean, you name it. Keeping my school open, for 12 years. I dropped $1 million in the park. One weekend, I had the USA team there, and bunch of different celebrities, stuff like that. So, yeah, man. I mean, I'm one of those guys that's been fortunate enough to to make it out, and I started something that's huge, with the AAU program, and a lot of success there. Then I started the girls program, a lot of success there, the New Jersey Sparks.
Shout out to both organizations.
Yeah, and we just continue to keep going, man. I mean, the city is one that's always been full with athletes,
Yeah.
but we just got to get these kids back on the right track when it comes to inner city living.
And y'all had Vince Carter come out there in '98. I seen that old footage.
Yeah. Vince came out during my players ball. And that was created because I wanted to be home in the summertime and still work out and play. So I just created a Pro-Am league. And, all of the guys from New York, the guys used to play down the shore. Everybody used to come out and, get those runs. So, again, I'll be putting some of that footage up as well on the
got
top.
to.
Yeah, we can check it out.
So talk about the 5 years in Milwaukee.
My phone get ready to die too, but if it died, sorry, folks.
All good.
Milwaukee was good, man. I mean, we had a great team, but we just kept running into some teams that was a little bit more seasonal than us. Ran into that Pacers team. I thought in 01 we might have had a chance with the Bucks versus, was that 01 or 06? I think it was 01 when we played the Sixers in the Eastern Conference Finals. AI was amazing. I don't know how he got it done, but he got it done. But we had some very, very talented teams. I was a young fella trying to find my niche, and I was around Big Dog. Shout out to Big Dog. He kind of showed me the way a little bit, playing that 3-4 position. Man, it was a nice run. It was a nice run.
And then the following years, you played with the Knicks. Talk about the Knicks years, because you played with them twice.
Yeah. I mean, the first time was a thrill coming home and, linking back up with Stephon. Shout out to Steph. We talked about 4 weeks ago. But, coming back home, linking up with Steph, someone I grew up with, being up under Isaiah Thomas, someone I idolized. I still think we related somehow, some way. But just being home, man, I mean, it's nothing like playing in the Garden. You know what I mean? It's nothing like it. And, one stint was better than the other. The second stint, I lost my sister and I lost my cousin in a week span. And, I was just, that whole year I was just in a funk. You know what I mean? I couldn't shake it off no matter what I was trying to do. But, just that experience, man, of having the opportunity to play in the Garden and be home, be in New York, be in that atmosphere. I mean, it's nothing like it, man. It's nothing like it.
Now, moving forward, you retired in 2010, after 14 great years. Talk about what you did after your retirement.
Oh man, I came home and really started being a father, because when you're on the road, you're all over the place with doing different charity events, or even during your season. Your season is 6 months long. You're always traveling. So I came right in and got with the family and dove right in with that. I've been investing in movies, heavy, and I'm always still going to be about the community and about the youth. So now I'm on the board of Pioneer Academy here in New Jersey. We just starting our basketball program there. Like I said, I been doing the grassroots things for forever. So that's just me, man. I mean, then of course you know, when you have somebody, you always invest and, always got to keep that hustle going. So,
Yeah.
it is what it is with that. But just living, man, just trying to, be me at all times and, do what's right.
So let's talk about the two documentaries. The one with the players from 2018 and your own personal documentary. When are both of those gonna come out?
I'm working on both of them right now. The doc series was fun. It was my first time back around the program in about 10 years. Being around some of the young fellas, being in that atmosphere in the EYBL, that was great. And then showing them something different. We stayed in big mansions. We had chefs and, probably only one of the kids experienced that in their life, Sharif's son, Jabri. But everyone else, was a great experience, for them. And then my personal one is just basically, my life. Everyone has their own story, but, thank God, due to that basketball, I've been able to change my life and so many others. So I'm just going to give you the story to run down on, how it happened for me. It wasn't pretty. My brother, hustled and, been involved in all type of stuff. So, I've seen, uncles and cousins, die and be high as a kite in trees and all kind of stuff. So, I mean, coming from the inner city, we all have, our own issues, but to be able to beat it and then to be able to give back and touch so many lives, I mean, that's an amazing story in itself.
So, this is a question I love to ask all my guests before I lead up to the final question. If you could go back to 1996, what would you tell a young Tim Thomas at 18, 19 years old as he's getting media attention, college coaches talking to him, people showing him so much love around the way? What would you tell a much younger Tim?
I would tell myself to watch out for those family members that just came around out of nowhere. People trying to abuse your celebrity or use your celebrity. And then just have a better understanding of exactly what I was getting into when it came to finances, because it wasn't, in the inner cities, a lot of times you don't get that education. And you go from the inner city to being an instant millionaire. It's a lot that comes with that, and no one's really prepared for it. So, I mean, I would try to probably do some research and probably talk to some financial advisors earlier, even before I made a decision if I was going to go pro or not, just kind of figuring that aspect of it out. And then outside of that, nothing. I wouldn't change anything else in the world.
Final question. What's next in the future for Tim Thomas?
I don't know, man. Right now I'm working on this basketball academy, which I think is needed. Our kids are losing out. Our states are horrible compared to other states. And I'm talking about New York. I'm talking about Philadelphia. I'm talking about New Jersey. When you look at the other states, these kids are, working on their craft, they're working on their bodies, and they're ahead of the game. So I'm trying to provide, the tri-state area with that, just working on all aspects of the game to get you where you need to be. I'm a guy who's, played at every level, and the training and that stuff is important, is key, because you have a lot of kids who have talent talking about they want to be pros, but they don't touch the college floor until they sophomore or junior year. You're never going to get it done in 2 years. So you guys got to stay away from these copy and paste trainers and get with people who have a real understanding of the game. And not just me, you guys can reach out to some of the pros and some of the college guys in your neighborhood. I'm sure they're willing to work you out and show you the right way, but you got to want to accept it. But again, I'm getting this academy thing together for the tri-state area. Continue to work with the high school, Pioneer Academy. And then I don't know if I'm going to bring this players thing back. I really don't know. But other than that, man, I'm going to just keep hustling and keep doing what I do.
Tim, thank you for coming on.
Anytime, my brother.
I wish you nothing but the best with Pioneer Academy, the documentaries, and everything else moving forward.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Well, everybody, this is episode 85 of Hoops Talk with Dave's Joint. Shout outs to my guys, the Players Circle, and most of all, Mr.
That
Tim
looks
Thomas.
good. I got to get one of them.
Indeed. So, everybody from Paterson, everybody from New Jersey, the tri-state
Jersey,
area.
what it is. Jersey, what it is.
Go support my guy, Tim Thomas, in all his endeavors. And check out this episode on YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV. Stay blessed, stay safe. Peace.
Peace, y'all.